Hey, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, sons, and daughters. This is the first episode of a podcast called Lotek, Health. Let ourselves translate expert knowledge. I'm Brad Burns. I've been a nurse for 3.5 years, and over this time I've come to see there's a dramatic difference between what doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals say and what patients and families hear. Now, I'm by no means an expert, and for the purposes of this podcast, translating what I know and have learned, I have the ecumenical greater than 6 months experience ranking, less and less common in my field. Excluding overtime, I've done quite a bit. I have over 6,000 hours of experience in the hospital. So I'd like to expose the public to the hospital industry and what I've found being on the inside, not having come from a healthcare background before coming to nursing school. Playing the most visible part in the hospital experience, I've had the opportunity to witness 6 to 8, sometimes 10 patient assignments in med-surg, 2 to 3 in ICU, and now I'm a floater filling gaps in staffing, so I don't even know where I'm going to be. Each night I wake up, I work night shifts, so I wake up about 5:30, go to sleep about 8:45, 9 a.m. I don't even know where I'm going to go, which is a nightmare scenario for a lot of nurses that don't know what floor they're going to be on until they make a phone call, but I love it. I love this stress. I eat this pressure. And it's kind of a sicko thing to say, but I don't have sick enough patients. Like, I miss my really sick patients I had in the ICU. I'm critical care trained in this float pool, but I miss my sick and crashing and dying patients, which is terrible. But if you're a nurse, you know what I'm talking about. So we got Meatless, Eatless, Mental Mushroom Mondays, Let's Talk Tickers and Taco Tuesdays, Wasabi Walnut, What's Hurting My Tummy Wednesdays, and Forgive My Foul Mouth Fridays, which today is Wasabi Walnut and What's Hurting My Tummy Wednesdays. These are going to be like 15 minutes, and for now, until I rope some folks into interviews, it'll be my motor mouth ranting loosely around those daily subjects, focusing on translating insider deets for outsiders to be enjoyed by all, touched by health and healthcare, nurses, nursing students, doctors, surgeons, biologists, businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, and anyone hopelessly dependent and inured by the system in this United States and abroad. Anywhere I'm lucky enough for this podcast to reach, thank you, and let's get to it. So, Wasabi Walnut, What's Hurting My Tummy Wednesdays is just a silly way to start talking about the gastrointestinal system, because a big thing we do in the hospital when you come in for surgery is make you what's called NPO, nil per os in Latin, which means you can't eat anything, and it drives a lot of people crazy. Like just last night, this poor woman has had an emergency C-section recently, and she's had this headache and blurred vision for months. And she decided to come to the hospital after the baby's born, after an emergency. Actually, she's already there. So they find that she's basically riddled with cancer and tumors throughout her head to toe. Like, she's got them behind her head, she's got them in her jawbone and facial bone or sphenoids. Excuse me. And possibly Mets to her lungs. She's got kidney stones. She's got fibroids. Like, she's just basically a bunch of tumorous garbage, and it's awful because a lot of it is genetic, but it's a big impact on how you eat and what you put in your body. And in this case, when we're trying to get better scans to determine if we're going to do more surgery, or if we're going to do surgery or just go straight to chemotherapy, we have to make her NPO after midnight, which we give you to midnight, which Happy New Year, everybody. New year, new podcast. What's happening? I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I know it's silly, but this is going to be my way of getting therapeutic communication out there, because therapy is expensive and podcasts are free. So this is a quick little rundown of why we have to make you NPO. Does this make any sense? I don't know if it's backwards. I'll get better at this. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to have fun with it. So if we look at this is your body eating and pooping. And it's 29 feet going from your mouth to your anus. In between all that, there's little bits of digestion throughout. The majority of your absorption happens in the small intestine, which is just a bunch of little worms, which for anyone who's thought about abdominal surgery or has had abdominal surgery, it surprised the shit out of me that surgeons don't put it back in like correctly, like how they pulled it out. They just drop it, basically hope for the best. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to be incorrect about a lot of stuff, but the meaning of this podcast is try to explain in ways that people can understand what's happening, because there's just a dramatic difference in what's being said to the patients. Because God bless our doctors, they got maybe 30 seconds to 2 minutes in a room, sometimes longer, but they have to kind of stop listening after 10 seconds or so if you're asking a lot of questions, because they're trying to redirect you and get you back towards what they're needing you to understand, which in a lot of times they're way up here. They're talking kind of over our heads because they're very, very smart, and they're thinking in a differential diagnosis way, which comes to a lot of probability and statistics, like all these things that it could be and all these things that it might be. So it bothers patients, like this one who we're making MPO to find out if she's going to have surgery or not. She wants some straight answers, but we can't get straight answers until we get better scans, and that's not generally the answer that you want to hear. It's just not. So what's hurting her tummy? Not eating. But it's also a pain that she's feeling emotionally. We use food to make ourselves feel better. A lot of people use it as a little mouth pleasure, a little help to get through the day. And when you tell someone who's stressed, who's in the hospital, that they can't eat, you're just adding stress to them and taking away a coping mechanism that they're expecting to use. So what do we generally do? We look for a substitute, which a lot of cases is opioids. We start taking painkillers, and painkillers work fantastic. They kill that pain, but they're also slowing your whole body down. They're making you not feel the need to breathe, which, if anyone has done, a little bit of the life thing, they know breathing's important. It's not something that we want you to do less and less. We want you to do more. In fact, we want you to breathe deeper, not faster, but stronger, deeper. Deep breathe, cough. Deep breathe, cough. It's like doing curls for each lung. It's so important. It's so important. I throw this little thing called an incentive spirometer in everyone's face, every patient's face, because I have this not even really a joke, but this strategy where I tell them we don't want them to go home with anything extra that they didn't come to the hospital with, which includes pneumonia. Big thing. Give you pneumonia if you stay in the hospital long enough. The longer you're in the hospital, the longer you have to stay. So, back to wasabi and walnuts to try to lighten the mood. Did you know we don't get wasabi? Like in the United States, it's not something we generally have access to because of the short half-life. I've heard places in California get it, some pretty high-end sushi restaurants, but it's expensive, and again, you got to get it quick because the half-life is so short, which is like the time it takes to break down. It's like the half-life, half. It's so short that you can't get it, so you're eating green horseradish, which is, I don't know. It's okay. Horseradish is good for you. I wear these neck sleeves a lot of times to hide my identity for any patient who's not super excited about their high quality patient care. Not really. I wear them to block out the buggies as I'm riding my bicycle. I bike to work. But this is kind of a confession moment here. I actually started wearing them because I did a stupid thing. I let someone give me a hickey, and it was terrible. I mean, it happens quick. You just get a hickey. You don't plan it. You're not like, oh, let's give each other hickeys. It'd be so cute. Just gave it to me, and I was mad afterwards. But like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna be mad. I'm not gonna see her again anyway. This is someone I met randomly. But this idiot here, for some reason, listened to my dad fucking with me once, told me you put horseradish on it. So I put horseradish on it, but nowadays I have access to these transparent dressings where you can really stick it on there for good for a while. And it was the morning, like after a night shift, so I was on night shift sleep schedule, and I went to bed at like 3 or 4 a.m. and I put this on. I put the horseradish on here and covered it up with a transparent dressing and just left it for hours, like hours and hours. So what happened? Yeah, I had a massive chemical burn, which was way worse than any hickey anyone could have ever given me. And it like peeled, it caked, it like was a huge mess. And I eventually, it healed. You see it? You can't really even see it. You see the neck beard I didn't shave. I got one spot. I can't grow hair. It's terrible. I know. Not a real man. So, public service announcement, don't use horseradish to try to get rid of hickeys. What you do is use a cold spoon, put it in the freezer, and hold a cold spoon there. Helps break up the blood vessels because they're just burst blood vessels that need to be spread back out. I think that's right. Is that what they're doing? You spread out? Something like that. Yeah, because they're rising to the surface. You want to vasoconstrict them, which is where you squeeze them, get them back into the right spaces. And walnuts. They're fantastic. Little brains. They look like little brains. 8 of them, 8 little walnuts, have like 200 calories. Fantastic fats. Biggest trick our United States ever pulled on us is trying to convince us that fats aren't good for us. Fats are so important, which we're starting to come around, but there's a huge generation of baby boomers who were convinced that low-fat, fake sugar is going to help them be healthy. And it was a fucking lie. Just like drinking cow's milk. Like, a lot of people still drink cow's milk. A lot of young people. And I get it. It's okay. It's not the best. And it's really not even good when you start to break down, especially some of the little conspiracies that come around it. They're not really conspiracies. There's just some deeper level understanding of what is happening when you drink cow's milk. It is basic, so your body has to keep your stomach at a 3 to 4 pH, so it makes more stomach acid. What's a great neutralizer of acid? Calcium. So in some effect, calcium is being leached from your bones. Look it up. I don't want to talk about it anymore. It upsets me. But sugars are bad. I had a bellyache on Halloween. Didn't feel good. I felt stupid. I felt like a child having a bellyache. I don't need that. So, Wasabi Walnut, what's hurting my tummy? Wednesday, I'm NPO. Please feed me. I'm hungry. It's midnight. A lot of times when patients are NPO after midnight, they'll try to get it all in. And it's the worst before a major surgery because you could have all of that food just go down the wrong pipe and swallow it, and there you go. Swallow it, I mean, by down your lungs, which is not exactly swallowing it, is it? No. So, disclaimer before I end this podcast. First podcast, Wasabi Walnut, What's Hurting My Tummy Wednesdays with Lotek, Brad Burns. All conversation and information exchanged on this podcast, Lotek Health, and its participation on lotek.home.com website is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Although I am a licensed registered nurse, this is not treatment or medical advice. Always follow the advice of your medical professional and comply with their care. Thank you. And I'll see y'all in 2 days.